I agree.
So, like for me, like, I'm happy they won today and really happy RJ had a good game and Russ had a good game. But, like, I have to admit, like, for the first time in a long time, like, I've been pretty down on the team. Like, in terms of, like, the future trajectory of the team,
Yeah.
it's like, I feel like I'm really starting to realize, feel like, I mean, the stats, just from what you're seeing with the stats, like I'm really right now. I know RJ was sick and everything, but still, I mean, like he wasn't sick this whole season, right? And it's just like I'm just really getting like out of all of our young guys, I'm just getting kind of like role player vibes out of all of them. So like for the first time, I'm really it feels like it's starting to sink in. I am hoping I'm wrong about one of these guys, but for the first time in a long time, I'm just not really feeling like the team in terms of their trajectory, like where they're going. And I do hope I'm wrong, but that's pretty much what I have. Thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Can I
Shout out
respond
to
to
you,
that?
Reaper. Thanks for calling in.
So I want to come into this podcast tonight being positive. I know that can get criticized sometimes for being hard on Tibbs and always wanting, Randall to be traded, even though those are my sentiments and I have my reasons. But I agree 100% with Reaper. Unfortunately, I do. I don't think there's a star on this roster. I think Brunson's our best player. I think Brunson has our best ceiling. But the young core that Walt Perrin, Leon Rose, and Scott Perry have put together is essentially some very good role players. Now, I do think this roster can be more than a sum of its parts if we were to finally add a superstar. I think if that was to happen, we do have the pieces where we could give up a few guys and we had the depth to still supplement, what we've lost and build a really nice supporting cast around a healer-centric star who can really bring a team and run all the way to the championship. That we do have, and that's something I think to be happy about. But OKC represents a type of team and game plan and foresight I wish we had for the last 5 years. They have a GM who does nothing but home runs in the draft. He's made a few bad trades here and there, but that SGA trade for Paul George might be the best trade outside of Kawhi Leonard to Toronto in the last 10 years. That was a genius move. He got like 5 picks. He got the best player in the deal in SGA. The guys I'd locked into the franchise for another 5 years. Like he's now a top 3 guard in the NBA. And he has really nice pieces in Giddey and Chet and Dort. We don't have a Chet. We might not even have a Giddey. Obi could be a Giddey, maybe RJ, but Giddey has a really high ceiling. If he develops his three-point shot, that's an all-star. He's going to be an all-star for multiple years. Dort's already a pretty solid 3-and-D player. Like, what's RJ's ceiling? Like, Dort? I don't know. There's some question marks among these guys, but I think at the heart of it, of this issue, is that we don't have a whole lot of talent on this roster beyond some better than average players. I like RJ. I love Obi. I like IQ. I like Reddish. I like Grimes. I like Mitch. But I don't see a superstar out of that bunch, and I barely even see a star. Of the bunch, I think Obi Toppin has the best ceiling of everybody. But, we'll see.
When I looked at this team, I'm like, all right, who will people come to play for? And in the future, I'm thinking, all right, they might come to play with RJ Barrett. But now I'm looking, it was like, they might come to play with Jalen Brunson. Like if I'm a guy, I'm like, well, wow, I might want to play Jalen Brunson if anything, because he's going to help me out at some point. I don't know. What do you think about what Lee just said, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree, and that's why, as of late, I've been saying that, regardless, however you look at the team, something needs to be done, especially if the Knicks are going to get to that next level. Because when you do look at the team at the moment, there's not really a star there. Like the player that has the most potential to be a star is Brunson. And that's who the Knicks just signed in the offseason to come play for them. Outside of Brunson, you can barely see a star. Like RJ Barrett's ceiling is probably a solid starter. Cam at the moment looks like he's going to be a solid starter. Grimes looks like he might be a solid starter. IQ looks like he's going to be a sixth man off the bench. Obi, it's night and day with Obi. Like sometimes we see great performances out of Obi, and then other times it's like Obi disappears. So there's really no star when you look at the Knicks' young players. And if you're going to build your team around that core of young players, you're really not going to go nowhere on a realistic level. sooner or later you're gonna need a superstar to come through. And that's the difference between the Knicks young players and OKC's young players, because at least at OKC, you're like, okay, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, superstar level. Like, you can tell this kid is going to become a superstar. Giddey, you can tell his ceiling is probably star level. Chet Holmgren, I mean, he's out this season, but if you look at his skill set, he has the potential to be a star if he can stay healthy. You know, OKC got 3 players on that roster at least where you can look at them and be like, yeah, those players might be the real deal. But there's nobody on the Knicks like that. So, like Lee said, there's gonna have to come a point in time where the Knicks are gonna have to make a move to bring in that superstar type of player. And then when that superstar type of player comes in, whichever young players are still with the team at that point, then you're gonna probably enhance those players and their ability because they're playing with a superstar player as opposed to just playing with a bunch of average and above average players.
That's a silver lining, is that we have 10 really solid young guys when you include Hartenstein and Sims, IQ and Grimes and all these guys we've collected over these, even McBride. It's probably going to take 4 of them plus picks to get a superstar, which leaves you with 6 really solid above average rotation players to surround that superstar with. So we're like the opposite of the Mavs. The Mavs have 1 superstar and a bunch of role player bums. Like, if we could absorb a player of Lucas caliber or SGA or Giannis, we have the supporting cast to help him get to the finals, opposed to just being a single one-man team, which I think is a really positive way to look at it. We have the pits too. I just don't see that player being developed out of our current core to become that first option eventually. That's just, I think that's a harsh reality, but it's reality.
And that's where I was about to go with it, Lee. We have a treasure trove of picks that we can get to. We can deploy. I think we have 2 this year. I don't know if we decide to draft them or move up or pack here with somebody else. But there are options here to get a star, disgruntled star or whatever. It just depends. The next move might have to be the right move. Next move has to be the right move. But that's what Leon Rose is going to do. He's going to keep kicking the can down the road until he finds that star that he wants to make a move on. So that's definitely the play. We all know it. The key this season, is to develop the young guys further. The good thing that's been happening this year is I do feel like Tom Thibodeau has been feeling a little bit of pressure from the front office to play some of these guys more. Even today, he went back to small ball. In the 4th quarter, they had Randall playing center and Oakley playing power forward for like a few minutes. Now, granted, it didn't work because Randall was really bad on defense. As soon as they played small ball, first play that happened was a layup. Right, the guy ran. I forgot who shot the layup. Went right by Randall. Randall just literally looked at him and then touched him on the shoulder. And I'm sitting him like, oh my God, this lineup is not going to last that long if Randall's playing that Olay defense where people just run by him like a bull, like Olay. It was bad. But I mean, on the flip side, they got some buckets out of it. They got some spacing. But Tom Thibodeau is starting to try certain things. As much people want him gone and stuff, he's starting to expand his lineup. You're starting to see more Sims. You're starting to see more Obi, more than I thought we was going to see him. And hopefully this trend continues.
JLS, you know what he's doing too? I noticed in this game, because I wasn't able to watch the one before. He's staggering RJ and Randall more too. He's getting Randall a little bit more time with Hartenstein and Sims, and he's getting RJ a little bit more time with Brunson, because when those guys are together, it's not about all them being left-handed players. It's where they operate best on the court. They're all inside the 3-point line, around the free throw line. They're all like the best. That first step comes at the free throw line to the basket. So there's a lot of crowding, and there's not a whole lot of spacing to open up those lanes to get to the basket. And Tibbs is starting to stagger both, even Brunson to an extent as well. Those 3 guys with different lineups to try to find a rotation that works, that allows for a 3-point shooting and the lanes to open up for those 3 guys. And I'd hand to him. I'm a huge criticizer. That's smart coaching. Like, he's coming around. Props to Tibbs.
Tibbs has done certain things, and me and Rami kind of talking about it, like, he's done certain things this season that was out of his comfort zone. That's kind of in line with what Knicks Twitter wants for the most part. It's just that sometimes he just doesn't hold Randall accountable enough. And now RJ's added to that list too. But he's expanded some rotation pieces that we actually want to see. So you got to give him credit where credit's due. All right. But yeah, good chat, guys. Did you say anything, Ryan? Or did I just hear it?
Yeah, I just wanted to just chime in right quick because I see some people in the chat and some people in the chat don't really agree with what we're talking about at the moment. I just want to address the chat right quick. So the Knicks won tonight. Are we happy the Knicks won? Of course we are. Of course we're happy that the Knicks won, and we're going to continue to support every Knicks player that's on this squad. But Reaper called in, and he brought in a question that he wanted us to answer. We answered that question, and we have to be truthful about it. Like, yeah, the Knicks won tonight, but we have to be truthful. We got to give you the cold hard truth. Now, if you don't agree with us, and you see a star within the young players that we have, then fine, that's your opinion. But all I got to say to that is don't live in a fantasy world, because I don't see that star player. So, I mean, yeah, we want to be positive and we want to be like, yes, the Knicks won tonight, which we are. But at the same time, Reaper brought up a pretty good question. We have to answer that shit honestly.
Yeah.
Like, we can't sugarcoat it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And I was biting my lip. I wanted to criticize, but I didn't. I was trying to be positive, but once Reaper said it, I was like, let's comment on it.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, well said. And listen, I hope we're all wrong. We still have some season to go. I expected more from IQ from beginning of the season and RJ in particular. I thought those two guys was going to take the next step this season. RJ's gotten better hitting his free throws. IQ has been shaky. He's had some good patches and had some rough patches. But I want to see those guys turn it around towards the end of the season and prove us wrong, because I really love our team and I really like the character of those guys. All right. Salute to the chat. And I'm gonna get to the caller. Before I get to the caller, shout to Hans, who says the whole East is mid. And I have to agree with you. The whole East is mid. And this is one of those little silver linings that we have to look at. We are in the mix with the mid East, but we're the only team with assets to get out of mid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well said. 100%.
So if there's a bright light, if there's a silver line to everything, if you're looking at all the wins, like nobody in the East is running away with anything. Everybody's 500, a game under 500 or a game below 500. There's only like two teams that's really running away with it, and that's the Celtics and the
Bucks.
Huh?
Bucks.
And the Bucks. Everybody else, kind of shaky.